Sisters and brothers, good evening. I'm Miles Sullivan, the Director of the Steelworkers District 6. We're very proud to represent over 75,000 members in Ontario and the Atlantic provinces. I'm speaking to you today from the traditional territory of many nations, land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. In particular, we acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. This land is covered by the Treaty 13, signed by the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. This territory is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We are grateful to be here and to live here and work on this land. Thank you to everyone who is joining us for this edition of News at 6 Live. I'm really pleased to be joined by Kevon Stewart, who's my assistant in District 6 and who's been helping to lead much of the work that we do today. I'm happy to be able to produce our third News at 6 Live segment. This is part of our efforts to elevate how we inform and communicate with you, our members, about our union's activities. You know, we're the largest district in our union, so as you can imagine, there's a lot that is happening and much more to be done each and every day. Last week was a great week right here in Toronto. We were able to finally get together for our USW National Policy Conference, which was held in 2019 and delayed for 1 year the last time. We had 600 proud steelworker members and our national and international allies from around the world join us for the conference. At this conference is where Canadian steelworkers come together to set out our priorities for bargaining, health and safety, education, political and legislative action, and more. I'm proud that our activists from across District 6 played a major role in the conference's success. We had the largest delegation, and our activists demonstrated their leadership skills and their commitment to strengthen our union and to defend our members' interests. I want to highlight one of the panels that we had at the policy conference, and that panel is Raising the Bar on women's health and safety. This campaign was born out of a resolution from the 2019 policy conference, and a panel of our sisters shared how they have been taking action to support and mobilize members to improve women's rights to safe and healthy jobs. Raising the Bar is an important campaign that we have in our union, and I think there is now opportunity for us to take it even further. Now is the time for us to take it to the bargaining table. We need employers to also sign on to this campaign, to commit to it, and have it embedded permanently into our collective agreements. So thank you to all of you who are part of this successful conference. I want to take a moment to commend Brother Marty Warren, our USW National Director for Canada, for leading us through the national conference, which was his first as National Director, as well as it was my first for District 6 Director. I encourage all of our members to learn more about the conference. Please take the time to visit our website at usw.ca. I want to take a bit of time to talk about some of our most crucial successes as a union. By this I mean the good collective agreements that we're reaching with our members at the collective bargaining table. You know, for years, our members, workers, we faced aggressive employers who were hell-bent on weakening our wages and our working conditions. They wanted to chop away at our pensions, cut our benefits, and often eliminate our jobs. But as we began to emerge from the pandemic, the power balance also began to change. Our members have been gaining bargaining power, and this has translated into success at the bargaining table. You've heard me talk about it. I call it bargaining in better times, as steelworkers across District 6 negotiate some of the best contracts we've seen in decades. I can't imagine all of our recent bargaining highlights, but I want to take a moment to speak about a few of them. Let me start with Atlantic Canada and our members at 6285, working at the Takora mine in Wabush, Labrador. They just won a 5-year contract with a 12.5% wage increase in year number 1 and another 12% on top of that in the remainder of the agreement. These 270 members now have a full-time paid local union president, improved vacation, as well as language, and there's lots of other monetary gains. In Labrador City, our members at Local 6480, 15, working at Labrador West Health Centre, have a new 4-year collective agreement. These members are cafeteria workers, and there was a negotiation of a 2% wage increase for each of the 4 years, a $2,000 signing bonus, improvements to their stat holidays, pregnancy and paternal leave, as well as domestic violence language in the contract on top of that. A new collective agreement reached by our Wood Council members in Northern Ontario covers nearly 500 workers in the woodlands operations at Resolute Forest Products out of Thunder Bay. Their gains include wage increases of 23% over 4 years. Also in Northern Ontario, Local 2020 members at Kirkland Lake Power have a new 3-year deal. They got a good agreement that includes 10% wages over the term, another $1.25 an hour for all operators, as well as a signing bonus of $2,000. We are bargaining in better times, sisters and brothers. In Peel Halton, our members from Local 9042 recently achieved a new 3-year deal with Messer Canada, which is an industrial gas suppliers. This includes drivers and inside sales, where negotiated improvements include wage increases of 8.25% over the life of the agreement. Our members in the security sector are definitely bargaining in better times, but only since Doug Ford's unconstitutional Bill 24 was struck down by the courts. This illegal law unfairly restricted our members' collective bargaining rights. This was struck down while our members at St. Mike's unit at the University of Toronto were in the middle of bargaining. So what did these members of 1998 do? They were able to negotiate higher increases. They also made major improvements on pay equity, job evaluation issues. This resulted in greater increases for most of our members. And our members of Local 4120 at the University of Guelph were also able to fully exercise their rights to collective bargaining. These 900 administrative and technical staff achieved a 3-year agreement providing total wage hikes of 9.5%, as well as the recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation as a paid stat holiday, and we need to see more of that. In Eastern Ontario, over 300 members of Local 1976, security screeners at the Ottawa Airport, just ratified a new deal before Christmas. This agreement with Garda World includes 12.3% wage hikes over 3 years, and on top of that, cost of living allowance adjustments. Members also won additional contributions to ensure the integrity of the Steelworkers Trusted Benefit Plan and increased pension contributions. New sick leave provisions under the Federal Labor Code also were enshrined right into their collective agreement. Our Local 6946 members in Pembroke working at Russell Metals, they have ratified a 3-year contract with hourly wage increase of 70 cents in each year of the deal, as well as another $1 up front as an adjustment for material handlers. The contract also improves dental, vision care, company-paid short-term disability benefits, increased pension contributions in each year of the contract. Over to Collingwood. Here in Ontario, our 200-member bargaining unit at Pilkington Glass negotiated a 3-year deal with wage increases of 17.5%, 9% in the first year alone. The members of Local 252G make windshields in the automotive industry. They also doubled their 12-hour shift premiums, improved benefits, and won their commitment to eliminate two-tier, short-term disability language. This is awesome. We're progressing. The final contract that I want to mention to you also addressed the two-tier issue. Members of Local 670910 working at Garda Doors in Barrie, they got rid of a two-tier pension system and won higher employer contributions at the same time. They negotiated a 4-year agreement with wage increases of $4.50 an hour over the term, as well as improved benefits and premiums. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to talk about all the good contracts or negotiating with our locals across the district tonight, but the ones I've just mentioned truly illustrate what our members are achieving through their commitment and their solidarity. I want to say congratulations to you all. And of course, a big reason our locals can negotiate these strong collective agreements and provide the best representation to our members every day is our Steelworkers Education Program. This program is second to none in the labor movement. And our education program includes our District 6 Spring School. It's coming up. It will be held the week of May 14th to the 19th in Orillia at the Fern Resort. And I'm really happy to see that we have dozens of local activists registered for the school. This will really be a great experience for our local leaders and our activists. You know, here is where there will be top-level courses on subjects that are really important, that include arbitration, bargaining, promoting mental health in the workplace. We'll also be offering our highly regarded Unionism on Turtle Island course. You know, this course has earned tremendous praise from members who have completed it and who have described it as life-changing. It'll be a really memorable week, and I look forward to seeing so many of our great activists there in a few days. One of the most challenging and critical goals for our union is to organize workers that don't currently belong to a union. In most jurisdictions in Canada, including all of District 6, workers who want to join a union, they have to overcome significant obstacles created not only by employers, but anti-union labor laws favored by liberal and conservative governments. And that's wrong. But despite these challenges, our union in District 6, I'm happy to tell you, we've organized hundreds of workers in the first few months of this year, and we're currently pursuing additional organizing campaigns. Workers have indicated they want to join the Steelworkers Union. We're building on our successes in recent years of organizing, not only in our traditional industrial sectors, but also in growing non-traditional workplaces, including education, healthcare, and the service sector. Tomorrow, we're waiting for results from a vote that's happening right here in southwestern Ontario for Starbucks workers to have our first Starbucks workers location in District 6. The rights of workers to organize unions and to engage in free and collective bargaining are among the reasons why our union in Canada, and certainly in District 6, is a proudly partisan union. It's no secret we support the NDP, and that's because only the New Democrats, year after year and time after time, have shown they are a party that stands up for workers and for quality public services and that fights against inequality and corporate greed. Recently, our union in District 6 endorsed Sister Marit Stiles for the leadership of the Ontario New Democrats. Marit is now the leader of the official opposition at Queen's Park, and she is proud to support the labour movement and vows an Ontario NDP government will focus on creating good, unionized jobs that respect workers' rights and safety. The labour movement has had several challenges with the current government, from killing minimum wage increases, imposing illegal restrictions on collective bargaining with Bill 124, refusing to enact paid sick days to help protect workers on the job, and weakening our education and healthcare systems. But the NDP has been with us through these fights and remain committed as we continue to push forward the workers' issues and union issues like card check certification and anti-scab legislation. Recently, the NDP have introduced anti-scab legislation in Ontario legislation. This bill was co-sponsored by a friend of mine and a fellow steelworker, Sudbury MPP brother Jamie West, who once spent an entire year on the picket line while his employer used scab. Jamie gets it. When the anti-scab bill was publicly announced, one of our most committed Toronto steelworker activists, Rupchand Dune, was there to speak of the dire need for such a law. Speaking from experience, Rup spoke passionately of how the use of scabs provoked and exasperates labor disputes and serves only to harm working families. But as NDP leader, Marit Stiles also is showing her support for steelworkers by visiting our workplaces, including recent visits with our members in Sault Ste. Marie. Our union will continue to support Marit and the New Democrats to build momentums towards the next election and bring true workers a party in power in Ontario. No matter who is in power, we fight relentlessly, often for years. We don't stop. We push to achieve better laws, better regulations, and what's best for workers and their families. Just last month, Local 6500 in Sudbury won a landmark victory. After years of work alongside our allies, the Occupational Health Clinics for Ontario Workers and the Centre for Research in Occupational Health and Safety at Laurentian University, this campaign, it's resulted in change, a 70% reduction in the allowable limit of diesel particulate emissions in underground mines. You know, these emissions cause cancer and many other illnesses, so these new regulations will literally save lives. But we can't stop there. Our union and our allies will continue. We'll continue to fight for even greater protection for workers, as we know further improvements are needed to achieve the safest possible regulations. Federally, after years of campaigns and lobbying together with our members, we finally won pension protections for retirees. The passing of Bill C-228 will ensure pensioners are paid out following a corporate bankruptcy ahead of others. Our union have been leaders in this fight over the years, and we thank everyone who supported our retirees, lobbied MPs, and shared their stories with us. Thank you for all that you do, that we do together. Building solidarity with our progressive allies is critical. It's crucial to achieving the change we need to build a better society. That's why our union is a strong supporter of the Ontario Federation of Labour campaign, Enough is Enough. Join a union. This campaign is building public support for a $20 an hour minimum wage, affordable housing, stronger public education and health care, making the wealthy and big corporations pay what they own and what they should pay, and making it easier for workers to join a union. I want to urge all of you who have not already joined in this campaign, please get on board. Participate as much as you can and as often as you can. You can find out more at the website weSayEnough.ca. You know, aside from the workplace activism that our union is known for, I have to say how impressed I am by the tremendous contributions our members make every day on a regular basis for our communities and where we live. Our members are among the unsung heroes who organize, volunteer, and donate to charitable organizations such as food banks and shelters. They keep minor sports, arts, and recreation programs going and ensure that kids have the basic necessities which they return to school with each year in the fall. They join our neighbors in local communities and campaigns to stand up for fairness and equality, to fight against racism, bigotry, discrimination of every kind. And the list goes on. And the reason why I mention these things is because I want to encourage all of our locals and our members to let us know about the good deeds you do within your union and within your communities. Please keep sending us your good news stories so we can promote them through our social media and our newsletters and our magazines. And on that note, I want to thank all of you who very generously donated to Food Share Toronto earlier this year. Food banks are very near and dear to my heart, and when I issued the challenge with my mustache challenge, you rose to the occasion. For everyone who is still unaware, for quite some time I was sporting a mustache but pledged to shave it off and match the fundraising goal if we could raise $5,000. I'm proud to tell you that it didn't take too long to reach that goal, and together we raised a total of $13,500 for food banks. That's what it's all about, giving back. So thank you to all who made a contribution. And with that, let's go over to Kevon and start a few questions and answers from some of our members. Over to you, Kev.
Thanks, Miles. We actually changed things up this time around. We had a large gathering of the steelworkers at the policy conference, and I chatted with them. Let's cue the clips. Hi, Miles. I found some members at the National Policy Conference who would like to ask you some questions. Let's get to it. Hi, Miles. We've got a member that wants to ask you a question. Let's find out her name and what local she's from.
Hi, Susan Ford, Local 4610. How can we take advantage of our upcoming bargaining and make sure we close the gap on inflation and our wages?
Perfect. Over to you, Miles.
Thanks for that question, Susan. You know, I think that now's the time where we're really bargaining in better times, and our union has resources to support our members. We've got a research department where we can prep for bargaining to see if there's comparable collective agreements that are out there where we can try and match and better those. You know, it's about building power, educating our members, getting our activists engaged on the floor, talking to our members, speaking to workers, understanding their priorities, and hitting the bargaining table for what matters to them most. And we are making a difference, and we're going to continue to do that.
Thank you, Miles. And again, you talked about it earlier in your opening. You're right. We are bargaining better times, and let's continue to do that. Let's go to the next question. Hi, Miles. We got another question from one of our members here. Let's find out his name.
Steve Johnson. My question is, I'm seeing a lot of events being hosted by the Family and Community Education Fund. I wanted to know if you can tell us more about that and how we can utilize it.
Thanks, Steve. Over to you, Miles.
Well, thank you, Brother Steve. You know, our Community and Education Fund for families, it does so much. First thing I can say is be part of it. Make sure your local's enrolled with that, because there's so many advantages and opportunities to take care of. There's funding, you can make applications, and you can do things that really matter not only to your members, but to the community as a whole, where we've seen applications that have included soccer tournaments, where we've been engaged in basketball and tournaments, food bank things. So there's a lot of good things that we can do through that program. Make sure that you reach out to our office if you want to have access to it or if you have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Miles. And just to plug, Gabrielle Simmons is the fund coordinator. Reach out to their national office if you have any additional questions for her. And thank you for that question, Steve. Miles, let's take another question for you. Hi, Miles. We got another question from one of our members. Let's find out her name and what local she's from.
Hi, my name's Jamie Kisak. I'm with Local 838. In your view, what is the perfect infrastructure plan in relation to District 6 provinces federally and with the trading partners?
Thank you, Jamie. Over to you now, Miles.
Well, you know, the perfect answer to that is steelworkers and our members. You know, when you look at what we do every day, you start in Lab City, where we mine iron ore, and that gets shipped by rail and by ships, and it comes through the Great Lakes, and it hits our steel mills, where we make steel, and that steel is used in our infrastructure, bridges, for roadways, and we have miners in both Atlantic Canada and Ontario where they mine critical minerals, and that's a bright part of the future. And those critical minerals will be used to power electric vehicles that will travel on roadways. Roadways where our members work in limestone quarries. That limestone makes cement. The cement goes into building, into bridges, into our infrastructure. And you know, to maintain those roadways, we have to have salt miners that produce the salt to keep them safe. So it's all about the work that we do coming together. We represent sawmill and lumber workers. That goes into our infrastructure on both sides of the border. The longest border that we share anywhere in the world with the US. And as we transition to electric vehicles with the critical minerals, you know, we cannot have electric vehicles that are powered and energized by dirty electricity. Nuclear workers, thousands, tens of thousands of them in Ontario, as well as across Canada, use that electricity to power those vehicles that are driving on those roads. And at a lot of these facilities, we represent security guards. They work there, It's about coming together. And our members who work at a lot of these facilities, they've got children. And those children, they go to post-secondary education institutions where our members work. So at the end of the day, it's about made in Canada, developing our minerals, developing our resources, using our resources from the beginning to the end of the product, and doing what's best to make our nation as strong as it can be and to safeguarding our jobs.
Thanks, Miles. And it goes to say it's truly encouraging and proud to say that we are everybody's union. What we do really makes a difference, so I'm glad to hear that. Let's go to another question. Hi, Miles. We got a member here that has a question for you. Let's find out his name and what local he's from.
Hi, I'm Steve Bullard at Local 2020, and later this month we are marking another Westray mine disaster anniversary. We know that led to the Westray law where corporations have a criminal liability in the death of a worker, but there are workers who still die at work. Can you update us on the next steps we are taking making sure the Westray law is enforced?
Thank you. Over to you now, Miles.
Well, thank you for that question, brother. And you know, there's a lot of work that's gone on into this campaign, and there's more to do. We continue to lose workers on the job in Canada almost every day. And this has to stop. We've got to make improvements. We've got to continue educating, motivating, and pushing our members to do the right thing. Talk to politicians. Talk to police forces. Talk to the RCMP. Bargain health and safety language into collective agreements that's going to be strong to work on preventing this stuff. But at the end of the day, I know, we know as workers, every day we go into the workplace, we have a responsibility. Our responsibility is to do our jobs and to make sure that they're done safely. But corporations and the employers, they're accountable to make sure that as we fulfill our responsibilities, that if something goes wrong that we're unaware of, or that was preventable, or that shouldn't have happened, they've got to be held accountable, and we're going to continue to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Excellent answer. And Steve, I hope that hit answer the question that you're looking for. I think, Miles, I think there's another question I want to ask you. Let's go to that next question, please.
Hey, Gav, I actually have one more question.
Sure, Steve. Go right ahead.
Is the mustache making a comeback?
That's a good question. Over to you, Miles.
Well, I don't plan on the mustache making a comeback anytime soon, but I will tell you, to support food banks across Atlantic Canada, if we can raise $13,500, I'll put the mustache back on, and this time those monies will go to Eastern Canada, where I know it could make a real difference. So the challenge is out. Let's see if you want to live up to it.
So let me put it out there. The challenge is there. The mustache potentially could make a comeback.
The mustache could make a comeback, and we might even be able to double it if Kev puts one on too, but we'll talk about that later.
All right, Miles, look, I got one more question for you. This question was actually submitted by email, and I think it should be addressed.
Okay.
Shelley Savory from Local 1976 would like to know, a resolution was passed at the USW International Convention about forming a Veteran of Steel Committee in our union. Could you let us know how we could get involved in District 6?
Well, thanks, Kev, and thank you, Sister Shelley. You know, that's a new committee that we're going to start working on. We're going to try and set it up and establish it. You'll see some promotions from our office that are coming out to see if we can garner some interest, but it's about veterans that have served in the armed forces that can make a difference going forward, where they can come together and talk about things that are important, as well as educate us and our district about good things that we can do together. So we're going to push for that, and we'll work on it together.
Perfect. Thank you, Miles. And again, thank you to everything today. I think the answers, the questions, has been right on. And you know, let's go back to the National Policy Conference for a second. And I just want to reach out to the individuals that asked questions. And as we went through the National Policy Conference, delegates are tuned into plenaries, going in many different directions in between equity caucuses, meetings, committee meetings, and just simply catching up with fellow steelworkers. So I want to thank Jamie, Susan, Steve B, and Steve J for stopping and chatting with me and getting your questions out to Miles. Over to you, Miles.
Oh, you know what? That's what activism's all about, to be engaged. And I just want to say as we wrap up, it's really been a true pleasure to address you live this evening. And I can tell you that a recording of this edition of News at 6 Live, it'll be available on our Facebook page and on YouTube shortly after we wrap up. So have a good evening, and solidarity, fellow steelworkers.